all my thoughts, you got me feeling naked.
Your debut album, Out of the Shadow, was a self-produced album. In a sense, I mean, is that correct?
Well, I was working with this guy named Bill Racine, and he had just graduated from Full Sail, and he was I don't know if interning. He was working as an assistant at Bearsville in upstate New York, and I'd sent him some stuff, and so we produced it together. Really, I mean, he was engineering, and it was all like ad hoc recording, like all just like, okay, let's do guitar. It was all just kind of arranged on the fly, so we produced it together. I finished it and I realized there's no way to perform the stuff by myself. It sounded like a band, on the record, and so I kind of used it as a way to kind of have people, if they liked it, they'd get in touch, and it's like a calling card or something. And so we started playing together not too long after I finished it, and not too long after we met, then we went out to Dave Fridman's studio, where the Flaming Lips and all those dudes recorded. And our friend Bill was there. He was working there. He worked in that studio, and we started working on songs kind of right away. We did songs that would end up being on our second record, but it became pretty clear once we started. We did Bird on a Wire and 10 to 1, some of these songs that kind of sort of defined that second record.
Yeah.
Became pretty obvious that we were going to be partnered, rather than just a drummer or something, So
Which I do that.
Yeah, but I think it was we didn't really think about it. It was just kind of a natural fit that I wasn't interested in doing things by myself.
Did you guys know each other before that, or did you?
Oddly, we both knew Bill. I knew him from a different time, but yeah, we didn't know each other, but we became fast friends, and that friendship kind of went right into the studio, and it's kind of we established the way we work. Actually, the way we worked on this new record, in a way, was established even back then, where we'd get the basis of the song happening. Zach would go and do more work on that song. I'd go somewhere else and work on parts of it and bring it together. And it's been a very collaborative kind of thing.
So the latest record, Delusions of Grand Fur, is also self-produced. I don't want to put a label on anything, but
this one is definitely just
Full
us.
on.
Yeah. Full on, yeah.
Sounds like you're proud of that. I mean, is it
was
it
a
worth
labor.
the effort?
It was a lot. It was a lot of time, especially for him. So we worked for a long time on it, and but it's definitely the first time we really had no outside people. Really, I mean, we had some friends contribute,
Yep.
but in terms of
We had our live band on it too. It's
yeah.
people would, if they were available, come in and do stuff.
Where was the album recorded?
In Oakland, we have a studio in Oakland, so it's,
Home studio, kind of?
I guess you call it that. It's a space that we rent, and it's set up to be a rehearsal space, and it also has a control room with a bunch of gear in it. And so we just.
How did that studio come together? Kind of all at once, or slowly over time?
Definitely over time. Over time. It's gone through so many different. What do you call it?
Iterations.
Iterations, yeah. I mean, like people. We don't rent it ourselves. We share it with other people. Some people will leave, and we need to get someone else in, and so they bring in whatever they have. And sometimes we get amazing gear in, and then that person leaves, and then it's all gone, and then we got to figure it out again. But this time around, we had a pretty solid studio built and ready to go. So we decided to go for it.
I mean, I read that, Pat, did you play a little bit more recording engineer than you have? You were flexing your...
Without a doubt.
He was the engineer.
Yeah. I definitely put a lot of time in, and it was great. I loved doing it. And it actually opened up created a lot of freedom for Zach to work, because I'm busy doing this stuff.
Yeah.
He can just be busy doing that, whatever. It was really, I got to be in there where it was necessary, but it was really a great way to work. We work sometimes very fast and sometimes very slow. Sometimes you scrap an entire song and start over again. That's the beauty of having your own studio, your own time. Just take it.
But it's definitely the most control we've ever had over our music. And we started going down that path on the last album, but we abandoned it. And they were just demos, and we re-recorded the entire album, which, and that's kind of why we did it this way this time, because we didn't want to be redundant. If you're doing something, just do it.
Yeah.
Don't attempt it with a demo and then chase that energy.
But the digital nature of recording nowadays, I mean, was that even possible, 20 years ago, to just not even do a demo, just go in? I mean,
yeah, I think it is possible. We did a song, one of the songs on the record, it ended up being dumped into Pro Tools eventually, but we did it on analog tape. Falling was, we just recorded on an 8-track machine, and we just arranged it on the fly, and it kind of has that feel. So I don't think the medium matters. I think if you are feeling inspired, or you're working with people that drive you, it can be done on a handheld recording device or in some fancy studio or whatever. I think it's just ideas.
To go back though, years ago, 20, 30 years ago, you had to go to a studio. There wasn't a whole lot of options for doing your own thing. So you did kind of have to rehearse with your band, or have an idea, or have demos that you gave out, and then the band learned them, and there was a little bit more of a time crunch. So the way we worked, being it allowed, the digital aspect of it allowed us a lot of freedom to be able to explore and actually manufacture songs.
Speaking of digital, the lead single from the album, Nothing Left to Solve, has a digital, it's kind of a little bit of a departure from the classic Rogue Wave style.
Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of like a Joy Division song, like in the best possible way. Did you guys have an inspiration on that track? I read that you actually wrote it on guitar, but then you transitioned to.
Well, I want to go back. It's funny you mentioned Joy Division, because on the 2 records prior to this new one, we had. Was that the song?
Permalite?
On Permalite?
Good Morning.
Good Morning was like, the demo of it is done on a drum machine, and it sounds so Joy Division. So Joy Division is always kind of looming over us, and I feel
Really?
like there's a lot of bands are, but I think that this song kind of had a little bit of that, but then it morphed into more of a Grimes kind of the band Grimes kind of vibe, and also I think that the Drive soundtrack, Real Hero. Yeah. That. Anyway, it's just.
Yeah, but What Is Left to Solve was like. That's what it was.
It had sort of like a calypso-y kind of thing.
So I thought it was gonna be. I thought that's what it was gonna be, but
it was gonna be a merengue.
But it just changed. It didn't feel like it had any life when we were doing it, and but I don't think What Is Left to Solve is really a departure though, because a departure in terms of what we do in the studio. We're always playing with drum machines and synths all the time.
I mean, it sounds like a Rogue Wave. I mean, it is a Rogue Wave song, but the production maybe.
It is different, but it's not all that different from how we actually are in the studio. We're always messing with those kinds of tones. I've just noticed that we've extracted them a lot of times from recordings because we weren't, I don't know why, we weren't feeling sure of ourselves, or we just changed and used guitar. And Pat, a lot of times since we were building the songs as we went, he would start with the drum machine sometimes just to create a click. And so I think that was one of the ones where like
a click with feel.
Yeah, and I think we probably kept the click and then added some synth and then decided to have be minimalist and just not add the guitars. And instead he had put all these additive analog drum elements. He's like banging on a mic cabinet. It's like this metal cabinet with his sticks. It has that kind of thing. It has this kind of analog with digital overtones. So and that also is kind of what I like about working on this record is the multimedia approach, where yes, a lot of times we're using Pro Tools, yes, we're starting with Real, but we also used an iPhone just as much to get like the compression of voice memo sound, and we feed that into it, or use different sounds to create more depth, through kind of low-tech ways. But collectively, when you add the different kind of mediums together, I think then you get the kind of layering that when you have headphones on is kind of rich in a way that maybe you don't get only going with kind of processed digital sounds. So I mean, you can make a great song sound cool in GarageBand, you know, there's no doubt. But in terms of the possibilities with the layers that we wanted to go for, it was fun to work with just in different layers.
I don't know if we wanted to go places, we just did because we had the time. And we would just look around our studio and go, what? Usually the thing we would do is pack up a bunch of stuff and go somewhere. Now we didn't have to pack anything up. So we could do
That was
whatever
nice.
we wanted.
Because we're in Chicago, I have to ask, and this is going back a couple of records already, but Asleep at Heaven's Gate has at least a couple Chicago references. And is there a story behind that, how those ended up on that record?
Well, I know Chicago Times 12 was definitely born out of a show we had here. We had been touring a lot on our second record, Sounded Like Vultures. We were out too much. We were constantly touring, and I realized each time we'd come to these cities, Chicago, we'd get a larger audience each time, and we're like, man, it's good, you know, hitting these big cities and feeling pretty confident, and then we were overdoing it and we were getting burnt. And I remember we played Logan Square, and it was the first time we had played where the audience wasn't growing. It seemed like it was a step backward, and I realized I thought we had been to Chicago 12 times in an album cycle, which is like we had been overdoing it, and I wasn't even really enjoying myself, and I was feeling exhausted, and I was kind of wondering why I was doing what I was doing, and I was kind of feeling sorry for myself and just feeling homesick and all, or just kind of burnout. The song is just burnout.
So the majority of Sam Ash subscribers, and again, I work for Sam Ash Music, they are gearheads and they're musicians, so I have to ask you, or if you don't mind talking about it, like your tour haul. I mean, is it like the absolute bare minimum, or do you guys like lug some like totally non-practical instruments that you just need to have on tour? Or is it kind of streamlined?
I tried to bring some less guitars this time. I usually have a lot, and because some are different tunings, and it's not practical really to you know, and certain guitars don't even like it when I keep them in a certain kind of tuning. But like Chicago Times 12 is a perfect example where the guitar is a full step down, and so I always have to have one guitar for that. I've tried to just
only that guitar.
Yeah, so it's kind of
Can't do anything else with it.
But so I've tried to bring less guitars, but I didn't. You know, I use 2 amps now to get like a stereo effect with some.
They don't want to hear
reversals.
less.
I know, no, but that's the same, and I've tried to rein it in a little bit on the pedals, you know, the effects and processing on the guitar pedals, but I think I have a pretty solid amount of stuff. I don't think we really.
I would say go back to pedals, because you've really upped your pedal game with the Strymon pedals and Earthquaker.
Yeah, I have, but you will notice the amount I had when we were in this rehearsing, I scaled it back so I could fit it on the board. So yeah, it is more, but I've been wanting to play with you know, delays a little bit more, you know, and Roland just came out with the JC40, you know, the smaller one, which is such a great sounding amp. It's really small and it's so powerful, and I haven't toured with a solid state amp before, and it's a second amp. I use a Super Reverb as my main guitar amp, and I use the JC40 as a secondary amp just for some extra delays and sustained reverbs and stuff.
Is that where your effects go through that one only, and everyone's clean, or?
No, the effects go to both of them, but I just have some effects some delays that I have just for the Roland. But our synth player Niles, he has a whole bunch of stuff, and he's actually triggering lights with his feet, with like MIDI switches,
Wow.
foot switches, DMX stuff.
Are those the ones behind you?
Yeah, behind, and then some other PARs and some
We brought a lot of lights
movers
on
and
this.
all that. But what I like the new compact Roland. You know, the ones that are like modular. You can like swap them out with the little controllers. These like little guys. And because he's got that huge Juno, you know, and it'd be nice to like consolidate that and have a bunch of them. So we may streamline that, but one thing he's not doing is
I'm not playing synth.
It's the first time he's not.
Is that right?
First
You have
time
a dedicated
since we started. Well, now we have a dedicated synth player, but also our bass player is playing synth and our guitar player is playing synth as well. And I was like, well, I think you guys have it covered.
Yeah.
I'll just stick
I'll
with
just play.
Was that like a tough for you to let that go, or are you cool with that?
I'm cool with it. It became easy.
Sounds like a relief. I mean, you can go back
It
to playing
became
drums.
really easy because it's a lot of dancing around, and I was going to try to operate foot switches doing the lighting and stuff, and it's just too much. I mean, everyone's got their hands and feet involved. We have to stand, right, or use the hands for this. But like, I really would have a hard time being able to do anything so I'm glad to have it stripped down.
So like a big part of Sam Ash's business right now is like used and vintage gear. Do you guys get into vintage gear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We,
It's hard not.
especially on the recording, a lot of the delay you hear is a Echoplex EP4 that I bought when I first moved to the Bay Area in '97. I got it, and I still have it. That thing has been amazing.
Almost all the guitars are old vintage guitars too.
Yeah.
You know, like Sears-ish, you know, like your old Silvertone, my old Silvertone.
Amps,
It's-
yeah, like,
yeah,
I don't
Kalamazoo amp, it's like this big, you know. And
it just
Princeton,
goes,
Fender
yeah.
Princeton, used a lot of the Princeton on that. That's almost, and the Wurlitzer we use an old Whirly.
I got a cool Hofner copy bass. The only word on it is Japan on the little metal plate on the back. I have no clue what it is, but it sounds great. Yeah,
I do
tell you
enjoy
what it's
taking
worth.
vintage instruments and running them through modern pedals, because all these boutique pedal companies are making such incredible stuff, and I like mixing the old with the new and kind of tweaking them, you know, guitars and synths with these guitar pedals. It's pretty awesome.
How is the tour going? I mean, is there any like standout moments so far?
Last night was pretty fun.
Last night was killer.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Paul. We played.
Where did we play last night?
I wonder. Turf Club. It was a cool room.
So beyond the tour, which you're about halfway through, what's next for Rogue Wave?
Well,
Outside.
never planned too far ahead.
We do have some festivals planned.
Yeah.
Riot Fest, Outside Lands.
And we're going to do some touring around Riot Fest.
Riot
So we're
Fest.
kind of planning the fall and looking into stuff for next year. Also, I'm interested in the next record too. So I've been kind of ruminating on that a little bit in my mind.
Yeah, I read that you had some overflow. You have more material. That was.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there's definitely stuff we're releasing, but in terms of what we'll be doing with ourselves, I'm hoping it won't. I don't want to wait years to go to the studio again.
I was going to ask. I mean, the layover won't be as long as between the last two records.
No, because I know that the next record will be a reaction to this one, and so I have a feeling that we'll probably do it quicker. I'm guessing.
But because we just made a record ourselves, we know that we have that capability. Most likely we'll work on stuff when there's downtime.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
Great.
Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
into the belly of a mountain.